So welcome back to the channel. Today I'm gonna give you 3 reasons why I think that the Chevy Silverado 2500 6.6 gas can't compete with Ford and Ram. Now don't get me wrong, I think that the Chevy Silverado 6.6 gas is a great option if you're looking. I want to make that very clear. I just think that GM did not do enough. And you might think, well, doesn't this engine have more torque than the Ram HD truck, 6.4 liter? That is correct, but it doesn't have as much horsepower. And if you think about the horsepower compared to the 6.0, it's a huge, significant increase. So this truck has 401 horsepower, which is about 11% increase over the outgoing 6.0, but it has a huge increase in torque at 464 pound-feet of torque, right? Now, that's a 22% increase. The only issue is that engine came out in 2007. Now, let me just be clear here. The 6.6 is superior over the 6.0, 100%. I mean, this truck does have direct injection. They're using cast iron for the block, aluminum heads, it has longer stroke in comparison. I mean, there's just so many things that this 6.6 has over the 6.0 that it's not really even a competition at that point. But in this video, I'm going to go over 3 things of why I think that the 6.6 is still last place in comparison with Ford and Ram. So let's go ahead and get into the first one. Now, my first point is going to be 100% horsepower and torque. I think that the torque number on this truck is great, but I feel as though even though it has great horsepower and torque, the Ford 7.3 liter, although it is an optional engine, has 430 horsepower compared to this 401 horsepower in the 6.6 gas in the Silverado, and 475 pound-feet of torque compared to 464. Now, you do have to pay extra for that 7.3, but I do think that the build quality and just a lot of the things that Ford put into that new gas engine really do help with longevity in comparison with the Silverado. I mean, don't get me wrong, GM does build pretty good gas engines. I mean, I've heard of guys putting a lot of miles on them, but I think that Ford just did a better job. I mean, especially in the horsepower delivery. And I think that because the Ram's 6.4 liter has more horsepower than this brand new 6.6, GM didn't do enough, guys. I feel like they should have given this truck more horsepower, especially when competing with the likes of Ford and Ram. And if you do plan on towing with this platform, you really do want to have as much horsepower as possible so that way you can get to that top speed, which leads me into my next point. Before I go over the second point, I have to make one small comment. You guys light it up in the comment section, and I appreciate that. One thing that a few of you guys have mentioned, and I agree with you, is when GM updated this displacement for this engine to 6.6, I was actually kind of mad because they have now the 6.6 gas and they also have the 6.6 Duramax. So I think that is very confusing. So GM, if you're watching this video, when you go to update the Duramax from the L5P, be sure to name the new 6.6 Duramax like a 6.7 or 6.8 or something like that. That'd be very helpful for us. I mean, just a small little change, small one. Thank you.
We really appreciate it.
Now, we just talked about horsepower and how GM is last place in that department, right? So the second reason why I think that GM is last place with the 6.6 gas is 100% the axle ratio in the rear end. Now, GM is no stranger to not making there be a second option for the rear end on their trucks. The 6.0 was standard with the axle ratio. There wasn't a way to upgrade it or even downgrade it. But Ford and Ram give you 2 options. Now, if you don't know, axle ratios are there to help numerically if you have a higher one for more power, like especially when going up grades, or a numerically lower axle ratio, it will actually get you better fuel economy. And that's what I don't like about the 6.6 powertrain, is you only have one size fits all. So I think that if GM really wants to compete in this market, I mean, they are a really strong competitor already, they have to give more options for the axle ratio. So in my opinion, I think that GM is third place for not offering a upgraded axle ratio on this truck. And the biggest issue for me is on the 6 liter, it had a 410 axle ratio, right? On this truck, this one has a 373 axle. So not only did they give us a lower axle ratio, there's not even an option to get a higher one. So if you are going up grades, it will help give you more performance going up that grade. So you have less horsepower and you have a lower axle ratio. So this truck kind of is not that great for towing in comparison with Ford and Ram, which is why it's third place. And I did a video with the 6.6 gas towing probably about 6 months ago. You should go check out the video, and it did pretty good for the most part. But you got to keep in mind, I was actually only towing like, I think it was like 9,600 pounds at the time. And on that note, in this video, I will show you guys a payload. So let's go ahead and take a look at the numbers for this truck. All right. One thing I do love about GM trucks is the fact that they give you all of your numbers for trailering on the side of the door. Love that they do that. Now, I'm going to show you this one first, just for the gross axle weight rating in the front. So it's going to be 4,800 pounds and 6,600 pounds in the rear. And as far as your towing and everything goes, so this truck has a gross fuel weight rating of 10,650 pounds. All right, so it has a little bit higher than the 10,000 that you see on Ram and Ford trucks typically on 3/4 tons. Gross combined is 24,000, so a truck and trailer combined with all cargo passengers. Rear gross axle weight rating is 66, as you just saw. Curb weight is 7,243 pounds. So overall, GM trucks did get slightly heavy. Hopefully you guys can see that. I'm not looking at my camera. And your max payload, this truck has a decent payload, 3,407 pounds. Conventional 14,500, gooseneck 16,620, and it shows you the max tongue weights there too for both trailers. Now, one thing I'll say is this: if I was towing upwards of, I don't know, 16,000 pounds going up grade with this truck, I think that I would have been a little bit more like white knuckled, because like I said, although this truck did feel like it had good power towing 9,500 pounds, I did not go up grades, but I could tell that the trailer was back there when I accelerated. Now, I have not towed with the 7.3 from Ford yet, so that's still out there. But like I said in my second point, on the Ford you can get a 430 rear end. With Ram you can get a 410 axle. Be sure to subscribe to my channel too. Coming up soon, I am going to do a walk around review on this custom Silverado HD. A lot of you guys have been asking me to do videos on more base model trucks, and I gotta tell you, this is a gorgeous truck. I love this Silverado. I think that if you're looking for a truck, this is the way to go. And I don't know if it's this one, but one of them are under $50,000, just like $49,000 even. So be sure to subscribe to this channel, look out for that video, and let's get to that next point. All right, so the last reason why I think that GM is last place is because they use a key still. I'm just kidding, that's not why. I have 2 keys, I don't know which one it is. So this is a black one, so it's not that one. I'm gonna do the review on that one because that one was like the cheaper one. This one's like 51 grand. But the last reason, and you guys already know why, is because of the transmission. This truck, you ready? I'm gonna lock in the gears. All right. So check this out. So when I start shifting up, you see that right there? This truck only has a 6-speed transmission. Now, I think this is a big deal. So I talked about it not having as much horsepower as the Ram and the Ford, right? I also talked about it having a lower axle ratio availability. So you only can get a 373 with this truck, and the transmission only has 6 gears. That is a big deal, and here's why. GM has one of the best transmissions, not this one, available. It's called the Allison 10L190. I guessed just now, I might be wrong.
Yeah, I was wrong. It was 10L1000.
But they have one of the best transmissions behind their Duramax diesel. And all they had to do was put that transmission behind the 6.6, and I would have had to do a video saying why Ram is last place when it comes down to the gas trucks, because that was kind of what I was hoping to do when I heard that GM was getting this 6.6 gas liter engine. I was like, oh, now this is a way to get Ram to step up their game on that 6.4 liter HEMI. But nope, GM decided to put that old ancient 6-speed transmission behind this new gas engine. And I hated that. I was very, very, very upset when they did that. Now I'm pretty sure they updated the torque converter on it. I'm sure they did some other things to make sure that it could handle the power increase, but in my opinion, that is why I think that although this is a stunning truck, I think they're last place when it comes down to Ram and Ford. And hopefully in time, they will fix that problem. And I'm going to speculate just a little bit. You know, I love to speculate and step on my, you know what, sometimes. But I think the reason why they did that was so that they don't compete with the Duramax. The Duramax is their bread and butter. They have a lot more money put into the Duramax. And I think that's why they cheaped out and gave us the 6-speed transmission. And they really made this platform very, very base, I would say. I wouldn't care about the rear axle ratio if it had that 10-speed transmission, because the gears and that Allison transmission are so deep. They're deeper than the Eisen transmission. And I think that is a better option over even Ram's 8-speed transmission. I mean, the ZF transmission is a good one too, but I really do think that if this truck had the Allison, this would probably be beating the 7.3 and the Ford, because that truck has a 10-speed transmission as well. I've driven the 10-speed 7.3 from Ford, and I thought it was one of the best of all time. I just think that Ford slapped Ram and Chevy in the face when they brought that powertrain out, and I think that they're probably potentially number one. But that's a video for another day. So on that note, thank you so much for watching this video. I hope it was helpful. Be sure to like this video, subscribe to my channel. Thanks for your time, and I'll see you guys soon. Since you stayed to the end, I'm not going to do a review on this truck, so here are all the specs, standard equipment on this specific Chevy Silverado, okay? Be sure to pause it if you would like to look at something more in detail. All-in price for this specific build, $51,110.